What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Last Principles. I am your host, M.A. Now, my last video, I let you guys know how I got involved with the ICOC, or otherwise my indoctrination story, how I got indoctrinated, how I got recruited into the organization. Today, we're going to do a 13-year time skip, and I'm going to explain to you guys how I got out. So this video may be a little bit long simply because intertwined with my exit story is the story of how I met my wife. So strap in or go get you something to drink, get some popcorn, and yeah, here we go. So okay, actually before we do that time skip, I'm going to do a little bit of a just a really small time skip from the last video. I left Tallahassee, Florida in 2002. Went back home to, I think I might have told you guys this already, I lost my partial scholarship at FAMU. My parents basically said, hey, you can make those same grades you're making down there up here for cheaper. So that's what led to me moving back home. Now once I made it back to Atlanta, I discovered salsa dancing. One of the brothers who was in the campus ministry at in the Atlanta church with me, one day we were out at lunch one day, and he said, hey guys, I'm going to be doing salsa lessons for the campus ministry after church every Sunday. You guys should come, and it's free. I was like, salsa? Free? Sign me up, right? Because I had always had an interest in it, but had never gone about trying to learn, right? So that's a whole nother story for another time, but suffice it to say, I got addicted to salsa. That became my hobby, one of my biggest passions in my life. And I started taking lessons in 2002. I actually started social dancing in 2004. I would start teaching it in 2007. So by the time we get to 13 years later, where my exit starts, I'm sorry, about 12 years later, I'm a salsa instructor by now. I'm not, full-time. It's kind of like a side hustle, basically. And I've been teaching group lessons and also private lessons. So about midway through 2012, I started teaching private lessons to this married couple. So we become pretty, decent friends as well. So fast forward from there to late January 2013, probably about this time that year, right? I'm leaving for work, and I'll just say her name, Desta. Hi Desta, if you're watching this, you're getting a lot of shout outs in this video. So Desta texts me and says, hey, you should do a double date with my husband and I. Oh, and by the way, I'll provide the date. And I'm like, what? No. So I take the fact that, it's illegal to text and drive in Georgia. And this was right before I pulled out of my neighborhood. So I kind of was like, oh, well, I'm driving now, so I can't answer her back. I didn't actually answer her back. But that was my excuse for not responding to her. When I finally did, I told her, hey, I'm down to meet this girl. I'm down to get to know her, but I'm not really interested in doing a blind date. That was my diplomatic way of telling her I don't date outside my church. I'm pretty sure I told you guys in the last video that the ICOC, they believe that they're the only church, period, right? So here's where that complicates things with dating. I'll do a whole nother video on this as well. So there's the scriptures in the Bible where it says, you can't be unequally yoked. So I'm pretty sure that there's a lot of things that fall under that umbrella, but for some strange reason, the main thing people tend to use that scripture for, at least in the ICOC, maybe in other places too, people use that scripture to say, hey, you should not be dating or you should not be married to someone who is not also a Christian. So of course, if you're in the ICOC and if you believe that only people in the ICOC are Christians, that means you're not supposed to be dating or married to someone who is not in the ICOC. And therefore, so that's where that came from. So I'm trying to I don't want to tell her straight up that, oh, I'm not going to date your friend because your friend isn't a Christian. So, and I don't want to do that because I'm also at the time trying to reach out to Desta and her husband, or in other words, trying to indoctrinate Desta and her husband. So, if I tell her that, I might lose her as a potential convert. I might lose her as a student. I'm not trying to get into that conversation. So, but that was the answer I gave her. So she replies, hey, still you should meet her at some point. She's really beautiful. She's just like you. She loves God like you do, blah, 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 blah. All these good reasons why I should get to know her. So she leaves me alone for a while. I think I'm off the hook. But what I'm also thinking about is the fact that my evangelist, I've heard him say at least twice during sermons from the pulpit. I've heard him say this. You guys know we're not the only disciples out there. You guys know we're not the only Christians out there, right? Now, I hear this and I don't automatically think, oh, well, let me go find me a girlfriend outside the church. That wasn't what I was thinking, but it did stick out in my head. I'm sitting there like, so are we really coming off of this whole we're the only church thing? Are we really about to back off of that? Are we really going to be open to the idea that other people who aren't in the ICOC could possibly be Christians? So that stuck out in my head. I always held on to that. So as Desta is trying to hook me up with her friend, and I'm saying hook up in the old definition of hookup. Like, I'm used to hookup meaning, oh, I want to set you up with somebody. I think you and this other person will make a good match. I want to hook you guys up, right? Nowadays, hookup means one night stand. So that's definitely not where I'm going with that. So yes, as Desta is trying to hook me up with this girl, I just started thinking like, could this actually be a thing? Is it safe to entertain this? But I play it safe. I don't try to go after anything. I'm not even interested really. Sometime later, I want to say this is late February, Desta contacts me again, and she says, hey, do you want to go out on a date with my friend? And I'm like, all right, is she on Facebook? Is she on any kind of social media? Can I find her there? And I'm really saying this because I just want to get Desta off my back. I'm trying to get her to stop bugging me about her friend. So that's really the only reason I say that. So she shows me how to find her on Facebook. So I send her a friend request on Facebook, and I get a message back from her. And we actually had a day-long conversation, just off and on conversation via Facebook chat. And it went really well. And, we seemed to be hitting it off or whatever. And then towards the end of the conversation, she says, hey, is it weird to you that I have been having this day-long conversation with you and I haven't yet accepted your friend request? So I said to her, I'm like, yeah, I didn't even notice that you hadn't accepted my friend request, but now you've told on yourself. This rubs me the wrong way because over time I've had a few sisters in the church who I was close with, but in different regions, like, just out of town, not in Atlanta. I've had a few of my closer female friends in the church try to hook me up with some of their friends. Like, they're like, oh yeah, you're such a good catch, and I have this friend who I think will be a good match for you, blah, blah, blah. And every single time that I try to reach out to said friend, I either don't get a response at all, I don't get a Facebook friend, I either don't get a response at all, or if I get a response, it's like days later, or it's just it never went anywhere. Basically, it never got off the ground, never got a chance to even talk to any of these girls, right? So I'm just like, okay, this seems like it's about to go down the same road. I've been here before. I'm not even trying to put any energy in this. I'm not trying to invest in it. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So I'm just like, whatever. Of course, this turns her off. She's taking that as me not being interested. So we just kind of had nothing really came of that. And then also, because I think she said, hey, I don't really accept friend requests from people I don't know. I would be happy to, accept your request once I get to know you. And in my head, I'm like, I'm not working for a friend request. I'm not working to have you accept that. I'm like, that either you do or you don't. And I almost thought to ask for her number, but I consider having someone's phone number a little bit more personal than a Facebook friend request. So I'm like, if she's not accepting my Facebook request, it'll be futile for me to ask for her number. That's not going to fly. So that kind of fizzled out. Now, we would chat every now and then, but it was few and far in between, and it didn't really go anywhere. But there was one particular conversation we had where she mentioned that she had gone through my album on Facebook and found out that I like Transformers. I have a big, huge Transformers collection. So hold on to that. I'm mentioning this for a reason. Hold on to that. So we eventually start following each other on Twitter. And, we have some interactions, but nothing past platonic, right? But that started getting weird because our mutual friend Desta, she follows both of us on Twitter. So no matter what we send to each other, she sees everything. So she's every time we send something to each other, she's like, "Ooh, you guys dating yet? You guys married yet? You guys having kids yet?" And I'm like, "Girl, back up off me. Leave us alone. Give us some space. Give us some room." So again, we're kind of having light contact via Twitter. So here comes, I want to say it's late July maybe. And I don't know what really made me do this. I don't know if this was the Holy Spirit pushing me in the right direction or not. Yeah, we'll say that. The Holy Spirit was moving. That's my story and I'm sticking to it. I got this weird urge to invite her out to Bible Talk. My small group was having our Bible Talk it was at a Whole Foods. That happened to be right down the street from me, which is really rare. Very rarely do I have, in my time at the ICOC, except for when I was on FAMU's campus, very rarely did I have anything that was that close to my residence. So yeah, we were having, short Bible discussion. That's what a Bible Talk is. Every Monday night at Whole Foods. We were having it either in the food court of Whole Foods or on the patio of Whole Foods. So I invited her, and I decided, to do it in the direct messages in Twitter because, again, we're trying to keep our friend Desta out of our business. So I sent her a direct message, say, "Hey, my small group in my church is having a short Bible discussion this Monday. Do you want to come?" And she says yes. And she says yes to this. In hindsight, I find out it's because the church she was going to at the time was white in many senses of the word. Whenever we would go back, we were 2 out of maybe 5 brown people there. So pretty much nothing but Caucasians there. And I also say white in the sense that everybody's hair was white. Whenever we would go to visit, we were 2 out of maybe 10 to 15 people in the whole congregation who were not older than like 50 or 60. So a whole bunch of white people, a whole bunch of old people. Nothing wrong with either one, but she was looking for a little bit more diversity in her, spiritual, community. So when she saw that my group was a lot younger, a lot more ethnically diverse, she was like, "Okay, I'm down. Let's do this." So she says yes to coming to Bible Talk. And so technically, this was not my intent, but technically I slid in her DMs and we're married now. So do with that what you will. Anyway, so she comes to Bible Talk and I kind of tell the brothers there the brothers there who I'm close to, I'm like, "Hey y'all, there's this, I have this visitor today who is a mutual friend of me and one of my students, and my student is trying to hook us up." So I kind of say that to kind of be above reproach, to try to, have the brothers hold me accountable, right? She shows up and this woman has on an Optimus Prime t-shirt. Yeah, this is why I told you guys to hold on to the fact that I'm a Transformers fan, and she knows I'm a Transformers fan. So I see her show up in this shirt right here. Yes, this, okay? So she shows up, and her side of the story is that she had just come from the gym. She was trying to get ready and change clothes. She grabbed the quickest shirt she could find. It happened to be that one. And she said, is he gonna think I like him? No, I'm not even worried about it. I ain't got time to worry about this. So she throws it on. That's what she'll tell you. Again, do with that information what you will. But me, I see this and I'm like, I keep it together on the outside, but on the inside, I'm like, are you doing this on purpose? I know that you know that I like Transformers. Why would you show up with that shirt for any other reason than to try to get my attention? I don't say any of this out loud. This is just what's going on in my head. And I keep it cool on the outside because I can't let her know she got me. I can't let my friends know she got me because otherwise I'm not going to hear the end of it. Anyway, once we meet in person, sparks fly basically. Once Bible talk was over, we ended up being the last ones to leave. We're talking to each other in the parking lot for what ended up being probably over an hour, and this would rinse repeat pretty much every Bible talk from there on out. And we're really feeling each other. We're really enjoying each other's conversation, enjoying each other's company, and we fought for each other hard basically. And I start thinking, I'm like, okay, how is this going to work? Because I'm thinking again about the fact that my evangelist has said it on multiple occasions from the pulpit during a sermon. You guys know we're not the only Christians out there, right? So I start thinking, is it time to put that to the test? I mean, I hear him say that from the pulpit. However, it's one thing for him to say that, and it's something different for that to trickle down into the rest of the congregation. It's a different matter altogether for it to have permeated throughout the culture of the church. And I wasn't sure that had happened. So I'm like, what happens to me if I decide to go this route? If I decide to, enter into a romantic relationship with this woman? I'm like, so this is the conflict I'm having, right? And as we start to get to know each other and talk more, I find her, I get to learn about her conversion story, and her conversion was biblically sound. Like there were no holes in her game at all. Like she is a legitimate Christian. I'm like, I can't argue with that. There was nothing about how you became a Christian that says something's not right here. To play it safe, and again, this is me being deep in ICOC thoughts, still holding on to that way of life. I'm like, okay, well, let me get her to study the Bible with the sisters, to make sure of this, right? And they kind of come to the same conclusion. They see no flaws. They see nothing that would say, hey, she's not a Christian. But they did find a hang up there. So my wife came out of her own situation that was I won't go so far as to say cult or high control group. I'll let her make that distinction. But I will say at the very least it was a legalistic environment. She had previously come from the apostolic faith. Just a really quick and dirty explanation of that. They believe that if you do not speak in tongues, then you don't have the Holy Spirit. And if you don't have the Holy Spirit, you therefore are not saved. So it's similar to how with ICOC, if you're not baptized, point blank period, you're not saved. So her previous legalistic environment, if you don't speak in tongues, you're not saved. So she had come out of that. She had left that behind. So because of the experience she had there, she was not willing to be legalistic with anybody else. She was in no way interested in playing gatekeeper to God's kingdom with anybody else. She's like, no, I'm not trying to do that with anybody else. I'm not trying to be that legalistic with anyone. I'm not trying to tell somebody, hey, you didn't do X, Y, Z, therefore you're not going to heaven, you're going to hell. She wanted no part of that. So the sisters kind of had a hang up with her not being willing to tell someone that if they had not been baptized already, then they're not a Christian. She refused to say that. So they were stuck on that issue for a long time. They even brought in another sister who, me and this sister we weren't besties, but we were fairly close. But this sister was, how can I say this? One of the more strong-willed sisters in the ministry. So they brought her in, I guess, to kind of be, I guess, like one of their big guns, or I don't know if this was what you call a breaking session, trying to break her down and trying to get her to see things their way or whatever. She didn't take too well to that. Like, nothing crazy happened from it, but it was very off-putting to her. So fast forward a little bit, I'm not dating anybody else. I haven't been on any encouragement dates. She hasn't been seeing anybody else. We both have been spending a lot of time together. We both know that I know I want her. She knows she wants me. We're not trying to see anybody else. Like, we pretty much are at the point where we're like, you're the one. Both of us are seeing the other person as the one, right? So I'm trying to figure out what to do about this, because I'm just like, again, how does this work in light of the whole, we're the only church, we don't date outside of the ICOC type of thing. And so we're in this weird limbo, relationship limbo for a good month and a half or so. And I get advice, that's another video I'm going to probably do later, about the situation. And I'm advised to just step back and let the sisters do their thing with her. If she's meant to eventually become a disciple, then it'll work out. If not, it won't. So one day, so back to the whole part about me being a salsa instructor, I would teach a beginner's class at this club every Friday night. So she came with me a few times, but this time in particular, she came with me. I taught class, we danced, we got done. So we're sitting in her car before we leave, and we're talking. So I decided to finally just kind of let her know that, hey, we need to step back, we need to take a break. So that's pretty much what I said without going into a lot of detail about the specifics of the conversation. At the end of it, she says, "So you telling me you were just friends?" That hits me hard. Like, my heart sank, y'all. Because I'm like, that wasn't what I intended to say. I didn't intend to say to her, hey, let's just be friends. But looking back on what I said, I thought, you know what? I can't really blame you for coming to that conclusion. Like, I get it. That's not what I said, but in my head, I'm like, yeah, I see. So this is exactly how I answered her. Yes, because it hurt me bad to actually say that. In my head, I'm like, Negro, what the F are you doing? You finally, because I've only had one girlfriend my whole life, and that was in my early days as a disciple, right? So that was like 2002. This is now 2013. A whole bunch of stuff not working out in between then and now, right? So yeah, I'm like, dude, you finally got somebody who likes you back, that you really like, you're attracted to, you love everything about them, and you're about to tell her that you just want to be friends? What is wrong with you? So that was in that conversation. So the next day, so this is a Friday, the next day, I'm actually headed to Valdosta. My brother was currently attending Valdosta State University, and I'm a big Falcons fan. Go ahead and get your 28-3 jokes out of the way now. I was planning on, so the Falcons were playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Tampa that weekend. So I made a road trip, me and another guy who, I had season tickets to the Falcons at the time. So me and another guy that sat with me in the same section, we drove down to Valdosta, crashed in my brother's dorm. The three of us and one of his friends went to Tampa the next morning to the game. And y'all, my wife showed me exactly what it looks like to just be friends with her, which really, in one hand, isn't bad, because it's how it looks like to be just friends with me. I don't call people a lot. I don't text people a lot. Even my best male friends, I don't call them every day. I don't text them every day. I'm a very much I'm very much a see you when I see you, out of sight, out of mind kind of person. I know I got to do better with some of that, but that's really how I am with my friends. That's how it was with her, with me just being friends. But because I was used to the interaction with her, the daily interaction with her, the good morning text from her, like she doesn't wait for me to text her, she would text me first, all that kind of stuff. All that stopped. I got no text from her that day, that Saturday. Actually, the only text I got from her was when I got there. When I got to Valdosta, I texted her to let her know I got there safely, and I got an okay back. I'm hurting, y'all. Like, I started to realize, I'm like, dude, you effed up. Like, you got to fix this. This whole trip, this whole long road trip, like Valdosta is like a 3.5 hour drive from Atlanta, and then a 2.5 hour drive from Valdosta to Tampa, give or take 30 minutes. Every moment on that trip that I was not actively talking to somebody else, I was thinking about her. This was the closest I've ever had to emotional pain, y'all. So on my way back home that Monday, because I took that Monday off, I was like, I got to fix this. I got to make this right. Because again, I'm sitting here feeling like I have lost the one. Y'all, if this me doing this, y'all, this is not me just being like desperate for a girlfriend. This was not me just being like, oh, well, I've been in the church for 12 years and I haven't had I've only dated once and it's been a decade since the last time. I'm lonely. Like, it wasn't any of that. I literally was like, she is the one. I need to get her back because I'm going to be sick otherwise. So Bible talk that night, we're at one of the other brothers or sisters' house. We're having like a house Bible talk meeting. We went to, we're sitting in the car together again. And I said, look, first of all, I messed up. I'm sorry. Then I also said, you know what? We can't go back to this limbo. We either have to commit to only being friends or we have to go forward. We can't go back to this middle, yeah, we're not just friends, but I can't quite commit yet. And again, I'm not committing because of the whole, what happens if I decide to date somebody who's not an ICOC person. It wasn't me sitting there really trying to like be an F-boy or trying to string somebody along. Like, I'm risking losing my spiritual family. Like, the only family that I have outside of my blood family, this is really my main family, right? So I say to her, you know what? I would rather have done this under more special circumstances, but will you be my girlfriend? And she says yes. And I say that because, again, this is another video I'll do at another time. But when couples go steady, become boyfriend and girlfriend in the ICOC, they make a huge, big, elaborate thing out of it. It's like you would think someone was being proposed to when those things happen. The first time I went, the one time I went steady in the ICOC, I made it special, but it wasn't some big, huge whoop-de-doo, Anyway, I say that to say I would have loved to do more than just be in the car and say, hey, will you be my girlfriend? But that happened. So about a week later, we're actually having house church, and we're having it in my apartment. So once it's over, I tell my Bible talk leader, I'm like, hey, this went down. So he doesn't overreact, he's like, okay, cool. But, we're going to have a discussion with the singles ministry leader. So that happens. A couple of days later, it's me, him, it's the three of us basically. It's me, my Bible talk leader, and my singles ministry leader. So we're at the singles ministry leader's house, and he's not a yelling type. He's not like the type to berate somebody, but his way of tearing into somebody, right? I get told that I have weak convictions. I get told that I'm weak spiritually. I get told that I just want to do what I want to do. I was told that I was undermining what the sisters were trying to do with my now wife when it comes to, the Bible studies, trying to get her converted. And these words, what I'm about to say is verbatim what he said to me. You can do what you want, but you can't do it here. So I say to him, to his face, I say, you know what? Okay. I'm going to pray about this and get back to you. I don't want to make a rash decision either way. But in my mind, I'd already made up my mind. I had run through this scenario a gajillion times already. Like I might as well have been Doctor Strange with the Time Stone, like playing through all these scenarios, right? So I had already decided what I was going to do had this moment come up. So that was my last time being in a ICOC building. That was my last time being a member. Now, I take that back. There was, before I officially decided to leave, I did have to I had a text conversation with said singles ministry leader. And I basically said, hey, if I leave, does this count as a disfellowshipping? I asked that because I've seen people get disfellowshipped before. And in every case, the person being disfellowshipped is like announced in front of the church and everyone is told not to associate with this person, right? So if that were to happen to me, again, that means I'm losing. Now, I'm still close with my blood family. That's my family. But when it comes to the people that I would hang out with every day, people I associate with every day outside of like work and, the salsa community, that was my family. So I had to be prepared for whether or not I was going to lose that family, whether or not that family was going to get, cut off from me. But I was told that, hey, since you're choosing to leave, this is not a disfellowship. So that I still would have made the same decision, but that made it a whole lot easier. So I'm not getting cut off from my non-blood family. I had two roommates who were also in the ICOC. And I was like, okay, if I leave, are they going to try to convince them to move out? Are they going to try to convince them to like leave me in this apartment by myself? Of course, I'm used to splitting rent 3 ways or whatever. So I'm like, and plus they were good friends of mine too. But because it wasn't a disfellowshipping, that wasn't happening. So I'm like, okay, cool. Now that I got the right information, I'm gonna move on with this. So yes, I was gone. That was my exit. That was me leaving the ICOC. Now, so from there, things escalated pretty quickly. So this was November. This is right before, this is right before Thanksgiving that year. So my wife and I, we moved on from there. Now this is how serious we were about each other. We were ring shopping by the end of the year. Now let's rewind back to that first Facebook conversation. The first time I spoke to her on Facebook was March 1st of 2013. I didn't plan it this way. Again, this might have just been the spirit moving. But when I popped a question, it was March 1st, 2014. So exactly a year from when I first had any kind of contact with her. This was Facebook Messenger. Exactly a year from there is when I proposed to her. This is so much faster than either of us had imagined it happening. She told me a while back that, whoever she ended up marrying, she was like, okay, I want to meet him. I want to be friends for a couple of years. I want to date him for a couple of years. I want to be engaged for whatever amount of time we need to be engaged and then get married. Mine wasn't mapped out that way, but it sounded roughly like what I had in mind for me. This was, again, so much faster than either of us had planned. So we got engaged a year after we first met, and then we were married, let me see, March. We got married in September, so I don't feel like doing the math in my head right now. It's even simple math, but it's late at night. Months later, we were married. So we got married September 20th, 2014. And this is now 2022. It'll make 8 years for us in this September. Been together all together since 2013. Got 2 kids between us. Our oldest just turned 5. Our youngest just turned 2. Happy life since then. So I've been out of the ICOC since 2013. So this November will make 9 years since I left. I do feel a whole lot more free. I do feel like, I still believe, I don't believe I've left God. I don't believe I've left God's kingdom because I left the ICOC. I still got love for a lot of people there, but I'm not interested in the organization anymore. Big shout out to my man Aldo Martin over at the Reclamation Project. Something he said really resonates with me with this. Like, he's a former member of the ICOC, and the way he puts it is this: if you have your eyeball pressed up against an elephant, you may not recognize that it's an elephant. You may not realize it's an elephant until you step way far back away. Like, wait, I've been with an elephant the whole time. I've been in front of an elephant the whole time. Like, it's that big that if you're that close to it, you don't see it. And I kind of look at that as my time in the ICOC. When you're so invested in it, when you're so deep into it, when you're so close to it, you don't see the red flags as red flags. And I think that's kind of what happened with me. There's so many things, and I'll be covering a lot of these in different topics in different videos. So many things that I went along with, so many things I co-signed with, so many things I perpetuated that, now that I'm out of it, I'm like, how did I ever do that? How was I okay with that? How was I cool with promoting that, right? So as I've been able to step away from it, step out of it, get my head out of the fog, and I look back and I'm like, I see the things clearly now. So yes, I have plenty of love for people there, but the organization, I'm not, I can't do it. So yeah, that is how I got out. Hope you guys enjoyed that exit story / love story. I will be giving you guys some more videos coming up soon, doing different topics on various things that I experienced there. Because like I said, big 13-year time skip. I got to fill you guys in on everything that happened in between, but I didn't want to leave you all hanging with, how I got out, since, this isn't a movie. You guys aren't just going to be sitting there going through it. I don't know how many episodes I'm going to do. So I figured, hey, let me just knock this thing out now. So that's it, you guys. Please hit that like button, that subscribe button, that share button, that notification bell. Leave me some comments. Feel free to share your stories, your experiences with me. If you are also an ex-member, if you want to be interviewed, let me know. We'll work something out. That's it. You have a good night, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.